everybody, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is your senior producer, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video headquarters here in Burbank, California. And I want to just take this opportunity, because this doesn't come along a lot. I want to congratulate Mark Ellis on his Washington Redskins actually winning a football game yesterday.
Woo! I didn't get to see any of the game, which is why we won. I am poisoned for the Redskins. If I stay away from the TV, we will win the Super Bowl.
Also here is Jason Inman.
I didn't have an exciting sports weekend, but I did get to see Matt Damon rescued from a certain red planet, so it's all good.
And Mark Ellis.
Yeah, so between Harloff's birthday party Saturday night
That was
and
a kick.
seeing Van Halen Sunday night, I somehow still have a liver. I don't know how it happened, but I'm thrilled.
Yeah, somebody sent me this thing. You mentioned The Martian. Somebody sent me this great tweet. It's been going around. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it, but it said, between Saving Private Ryan, Interstellar, and The Martian, America has spent a hell of a lot of money trying to get Matt Damon back.
Yeah, trying to rescue Matt Damon.
Which I thought was great. And hey, this is Jason. This is your first time on Movie
This is
Talk.
the first time on Movie Talk.
Jason Inman, of
Thank
course,
you.
who is, well, you'll know him from DC All Access, but he's also the host, one of the hosts of our Arrow recap show.
Yeah.
Episode 1 starts this week.
It's very exciting. It's very exciting. And as I told my other panelists, I've already seen it.
I know, but don't say a thing. Don't say a thing.
I won't. No spoilers.
Hey, folks, as happens sometimes, a news story dropped after we already had all the show notes put together, and there is no getting around this particular one. Seth Grahame-Smith, according to the Hollywood Reporter, has been signed on by Warner Brothers to write and direct the new Flash movie, replacing Lord and Miller, who had previously been attached to write and assumedly direct the film. Then, of course, recently we heard the news that Lord Miller signed on to do that little Star Wars movie, a Han Solo movie. Who would do that? Flash, Han Solo. Yeah, so they got out of Dodge to do that. And now Seth Grahame-Smith is reportedly introduced. Now, this would be Seth Grahame-Smith's first feature film that he has ever directed. So anyway, Mark, you heard this news. How are you feeling about this?
Well, Lord and Miller got out of there in less than 12 parsecs, and this is an intriguing prospect to me, having somebody who has never directed a film before helming a huge project like The Flash. There's already some pressure because fans love the Flash TV show so much that a different Flash universe for the cinematic one, that just adds fuel to the fire as far as people being a little nervous. But this guy has been attached to the Beetlejuice sequel as well, or whatever the Beetlejuice reboot is, so he's been circling that project. It sounds like an interesting play. We've seen before when a big-time project will get a smaller director who's done independent films and stuff like that to come on and do a big project. It's been working very well the last few years. Having an author now be a director and write the movie, it seems like a lot to put on somebody's plate who's a rookie, but I think it might be the right play.
I got to tell you, I'm nervous about it. I'm very nervous about it. 2 phrases, all right? Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which he wrote the script for, and the Johnny Depp piece of trash, Dark Shadows, he wrote. And so I look at that and I go, so direct The Flash and write The Flash. I gotta tell you, I'm a little. Now, that being said, he's apparently also writing the Lego Batman movie. So he clearly has some connection with Lord Miller already, and they must have some degree of belief with him. But I gotta tell you, I'm nervous about this. I'm not going to completely poo-poo on it because who knows? It's his first one. But I always kind of feel like if a director's going to do his first major feature film, you don't do it with a major tentpole project. I don't like the move. Anyway, Jason, what do you think about this?
My only guess is that he must have came into this room and gave a hell of a pitch.
Yeah.
Like just blew him out of the water. And then they were like, all right, we want to do it. You write it. And he's like, no. I'm going to direct it too. Like, that's what I think he did.
That's like Ellis coming into my office with, he's like, hey, okay, great idea. Let's do that little skit. No, I want to host Movie Talk.
But, know, we talk about how well he did in The Room or how you pitch this project. He also does have the Lord and Miller stamp of approval.
Yes, that's a big thing.
And as
Can't
we
be
were talking
underestimated.
about, right before we went live, we were talking about how everything they touch turns to gold. Now, does that carry over from movies and writing projects into just naming people? Like, are they actually just bronzing people left and right on the street? We're about to find out, because if this goes down, it's going to make huge waves in Hollywood. And I still think it might be the right play, because it's exciting to see people like this get a chance.
Yeah, I don't know if it just gets passed on or not. I mean, my dad is a self-made, millionaire businessman, while I'm arguing over the McDonald's waitress giving me my extra 10 cents change. So I'm not quite sure talent is just passed on that way, but we'll see. All right, what's our first actual story of the day?
Well, it's Monday, which means it's time for our weekly box office report, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theatres. Coming in at the number one spot, less than $1 million behind the all-time October opening weekend record, is the new Ridley Scott Matt Damon film, The Martian. The film took in a reported $55 million, just shy of Gravity's $55.7 million opening. This marks the second largest opening of any Matt Damon film, behind only The Bourne Ultimatum, which made $69.2 million. In the number two spot is last week's champ, Hotel Transylvania 2, making an additional $33 million, bringing its two-week domestic total up to over $90 million. In the third spot is the Emily Blunt Benicio del Toro film Sicario, making $12 million. In the number four position is the Robert De Niro and Hathaway comedy The Intern, taking in $11.6 million. And rounding out the top five spot is Maze Runner The Scorch Trials, making an additional $7.6 million. John, what stands out to you about this week's box office report?
Well, I'm thrilled to see how well The Martian did. I thought it would get high 40s. I didn't think it would get into the 50s, but it so deserves it, and it deserves more. I saw it again last night at the new Dolby Cinema at AMC Prime, which I'll talk about at some later time, I'm sure. But that movie is so freaking good. Mm-hmm. It's just so good. It's the second biggest opening for a Matt Damon movie ever. I'm tempted to say it's the best Matt Damon movie ever. I'm not quite sure I'm ready to take Good Will Hunting out of that spot, but it'll rival it. It'll rival it. I'll probably still keep Good Will up then. But man, this movie is spectacular. That type of success is great. It was a pretty strong. This is the first time in a while that we've seen almost all the top five be in double digits. This is not normally that time of year that you see that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. So that's what stands out to me the most. Mark, what about you?
Well, first of all, we talked about how, between Interstellar, The Martian, and Saving Private Ryan, you can throw the Bourne movies in there too, because our government is trying to get that Damon back. I am thrilled beyond it. I cannot believe how well The Martian did, and it deserves it. You need to see that movie in a theater if you haven't already. I think that's why word of mouth is one of those things that bumped it from the mid-40s up to the mid-50s, is that people were not only raving about this movie, but they're saying you need to see this in a theater setting. That's the best way to view it. The other note that I had was that Hotel Transylvania 2 and The Intern both only dropped around 30% in the weekends, which means that people are going to the movies right now. And you're right, you don't usually expect that in late September, early October, but they're already going out there, and with Sicario and with The Martian starting to get a little bit of Oscar buzz. It's an exciting time to be a moviegoer.
Jason?
I will say the thing that noticed the most about The Martian for me is that not even Matt Damon, Ridley Scott. This is, I think, his best movie since Gladiator.
I agree completely.
Yeah. And Ridley's had some duds, like Prometheus, Exodus, God of Gods,
Counselor,
Robin Hood.
Yeah, who saw those? And so The Martian actually gives me hope that okay, is Ridley coming out of the doldrums? Don't go make Prometheus 2, Ridley. Go make more original movies like The Martian. But Hotel Transylvania 2. I think if you can look at these movies and you can see that each of them are a different crowd. Like The Intern's for my mom, Sicaria's for the hard crime people, Hotel Transylvania's for the kids, and The Martian is for people who like good movies.
And I'm glad you mentioned Sicario, because I was actually really pleasantly surprised by Sicario for a couple of reasons. One, it was better than I thought it would be, and it wasn't quite the movie I thought it would be. It's like you think you know what you're getting with the trailers, and and for the most part that's true, but there's actually another added flavor to it that you weren't expecting, and I just found myself kind of out of breath by the time the movie was not from excitement, but from the tension in that movie was so good. You mentioned Ridley Scott too, because I've been all over this thing about Ridley Scott hasn't made a good movie in over a decade. And every once in a while, a director can fall ass backwards lucky into a great performance with a great script and they just manage not to screw it up. But when you look at a movie like The Martian, if you got a guy, whether it's Tom Hanks in that, what was that Stranded movie he was in?
Castaway.
Thank you. Whether it's Tom Hanks in Castaway, whatever, you need the actor to give a strong performance, but you actually need the director to know how to set that tone, especially if it's just one actor in it. Ridley Scott, and as much as I've crapped on him over the past number of years, he did a phenomenal job directing this film. Like from the timing of the lines and the way which shots he decided to use and the way he decided to shoot certain things and the emotion he brought into it, the direction he gave Damon. I mean, really, full credit where credit is due. He crushed this one, and I hope it's a sign of it's a return to form for him.
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to go see The Martian again, probably 2 more times at least in a movie theater before it's out of there, because it is so worth going to. It's worth your money, guys.
All right, what's next?
At a recent event in Cannes, Hasbro Studios president Stephen J. Davis was asked a question about the future of the Transformers movies, to which he said the following. Well, you're going to see a new Transformers movie coming from Hasbro and Paramount and Michael Bay and our other partners. In fact, we just finished, as some of you may have read, just an incredible experience. We decided that we wanted to plot out the next 10 years of the Transformers franchise, so we got together in a room over a 3-month period of time. 9 of some of the most creative writers I have ever worked with, shepherded by Akiva Goldsman, who many of you know won an Academy Award for A Beautiful Mind and wrote a bunch of great movies, and they plotted out the next 10 years of Transformers. Similarly, we are doing the same in television and in digital. So stay tuned. Transformers 5 is on its way, and 6, and 7, and 8. Mark, what is your reaction to Davis's comments?
Oh boy, let's talk about this, guys. So the excitement that I have for this comes from the television and digital realm when they're talking about we plotted out the next decade of Transformers in those worlds as well. So I can get pumped up for that. But everybody was hearing about, everybody's locked in a room. We have all these geniuses. They're coming up with all this great Transformers lore. And then Michael Bay is going to direct Transformers 5. And that wasn't news until about a week ago. So I can't help but think that a lot of these talented people got in a room, were coming up with some really cool stuff, and then Michael Bay walks in drinking a Bud Light and is like, hey, you know what, I'm going to direct this movie. And so that I can't help but think that might put the brakes on some of the cool creative things that they were doing, because Michael Bay has his vision and made the first 4 movies, and they did so well financially that he can do whatever he wants. So I can't get excited about the future of more Transformers films just yet. The television and digital stuff, though, could be awesome.
Jason?
You know, the funny thing, you talked about all the smart people locked into a room. They mentioned somebody in that quote that I think is somebody that you don't want to mention. Akiva Goldsman, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Akiva Goldsman write a script for Batman and Robin?
Yes, he did.
Yes, and that's the person that they're touting.
Well, not great. He did do A Beautiful Mind and won the Academy Award for that.
That's true, but I also feel that anybody that writes Batman and Robin, immediately there's bells. Immediately.
Look, as in all things, everything that Hasbro does is good and right and true and just. Full disclaimer, my wife is a senior person over at Hasbro. So that being said, this is like saying you have a world-class athlete, and we have gathered together the top nutritionists, doctors, athletic performance, guys, all together to really hone in on this athlete's health and performance. And then they said, we're going to throw you into a lava-filled volcano. That's what this is. That Michael Bay is the lava-filled volcano. Take that as you will. And when he says they have a room full of talent, they do. Stephen DeKnight was in that room. I mean, they had, when you look down the list of the people, this was an impressive room that would get you excited. And look, full disclosure on myself here. I was one of the few guys, when they first announced Michael Bay was going to direct the first Transformers movies, I was one of the few guys, in hindsight, I was an idiot, but I was one of the few guys who came out and said, this is the right fit. This is the guy to do a first Transformers movie. And look, I loved the first Transformers movie. So I was excited when he come back. Second sucked. Third sucked. Fourth sucked. And look, at some point, cut bait. It's great that you have this room full of talent, and it's great that you're talking about Transformers 5, 6, 7, and 8, and that's awesome. But as long as Michael Bay's name is still directed at this point, and I still stand by the first Transformers movie, kudos to you. I love The Rock. I even like Armageddon. So I'm not just this big anti-Michael Bay guy. I'm not. But Michael Bay's time on the Transformers expired a long frickin' time ago. Cut bait, move on. I want to be excited about the Transformers again, but it just ain't gonna happen as long as this guy, let's throw as much TNA slapping all over a washing car and then have like leg humping robots with giant robot testicles flying all over the place. I can't get into it. Move on. Anyway, okay. Sorry.
You know, as a Redskins fan, this is what we go through because it doesn't matter who you put on the field. When your owner is Dan Snyder, it's like we just don't know how good. It puts such a glass ceiling on what you're able to accomplish. And I agree with John that Michael Bay is a talented filmmaker. I love The Rock. I think he'd be a great choice for another Fast and Furious movie. But you've had too many chances with Transformers and just completely crap the bed every time, in my opinion. The first one is maybe passable, but it's just such a bummer to hear you had all this potential and it's probably going to waste, at least in the film universe.
I would rather, you talked about Stephen DeKnight, give him a shot at a Transformers
Oh,
movie.
hell
Let's see
yes.
a Stephen DeKnight Transformers movie.
Hell yes.
You can make a good Transformers movie, but I agree with you, not with Bay.
Hey, for those of you who don't know the name Stephen DeKnight is the showrunner of one of probably my top 5 all-time favorite television shows, Spartacus, and he was just the showrunner for season 1 of Daredevil.
Yeah.
And he was in that writer's room. You're right. Give him the
Give him
damn
the movie.
All right, what's next?
This past May, Mad Max Fury Road was a financial success and a big hit with both critics and fans. However, we still have not heard any official word yet on a possible sequel. While plans are being put together, it seems that the studio is trying to decide between 2 separate scripts. In a recent interview with Top Gear, director George Miller said the following: "So we ended up with 2 scripts without really trying. We're talking to the studio about it as we speak, but which one of those 2 stories will happen next? I'm not so sure. I want to do a small film without special effects before I do any of that, just to do it quickly. We shot Fury Road for 8 months. That's a lot. Every day in the heat and the dust doing these stunts. It's very wearing. We've got 2 more planned, but at some point in the future." Jason, what stands out to you in Miller's comments?
You know what stands out to me is that he says he has 2 more ideas and that he wants to go make a small movie first. And so that's fine. Yeah, I get it. You want to cleanse your palate, George Miller. Go cleanse your palate. Go make live action Happy Feet. Cool, we're good. But if you have 2 ideas and you're like, well, we're not quite certain which one to do, trilogy is the word of the day in Hollywood. Make both. Warner Brothers give him all the money, have him make both the movies at the same time, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings style, and then we get 2 more Mad Max movies. I think that's why not?
There's a couple things that stand out to me about this. Number one, and I kind of wish Schnepp was here right now to talk about this. Remember, there's been a lot of whispers and rumors and rumblings about maybe George Miller doing a Man of Steel sequel, and maybe soon.
Which I think he denied, though.
Which I heard he
Oh.
denied, but the rumors continued. Well, if he's now saying, my next film, something on the Mad Max could be Superman, small, no special effects. So I think that kind of puts that to rest right now. One of the things that I think a lot of people lose sight of is that Mad Max was not that big of a financial hit. Now, made $400 million worldwide, but on a $150 million budget, it was profitable, definitely. But nobody wants to remember this. Mad Max got bitch slapped by Pitch Perfect 2. Remember that?
Yeah,
the
opening
2
weekend.
opened on the same opening weekend, and Pitch Perfect 2 just destroyed Mad Max, which to the shock of a lot of people and not so much to some others. So I understand why the studios, because at one point I was thinking, what's the holdup? Like, just opening weekend, you announce another Mad Max. Why isn't this official yet? I can get it. They are probably looking at ways to probably reel in that $150 million budget, maybe get back to the $120 million range, something like that. Apparently on set, there was some friction between Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron. Apparently they don't get along at all, so you got to come up with something. You can't exactly have the same sort of story. So that's interesting as well. I really think that one of these 2 scripts is a Furiosa. Maybe outside of Max
if they didn't consider that possibility.
Because really, Mad Max Fury Road really was her movie.
Oh yeah, totally.
For just about every case like that. So I don't know, how does this all stand out to you?
It does make me nervous, and I have total faith in George Miller, and what he did with Mad Max Fury Road was awesome. But when you hear there's 2 stories, it's like, do they complement each other to the point where you could have a trilogy, or is it where they're looking at 2 scripts, like which one works? Like which storyline are we going to go with here? We're at a fork in the road. here, as opposed to saying, let's make this movie, then this movie. So I have a little bit of concern there. But as far as George Miller, his next movie being a smaller, tiny film, I love that idea.
Yeah, me too.
I like when filmmakers do that. I thought it was really cool when Joss Whedon had the Avengers come out, and then he went and did Much Ado About Nothing for like 2 weeks in black and white. It's a neat change of pace for filmmakers like that. Something that's going to be very refreshing for George Miller. Like you said, that's a 73-year-old dude who was in the desert for 8 months, and you have all this money, and you hope you're spending it in the right way. I think the next 2 Mad Max movies, I think there will be 2 more. I think they're going to do incredible business worldwide because the critical success of the first one
and the fan reaction
and the fans loved it. As long as you don't open up against Pitch Perfect 3, it's going to be number 1 at the box office whenever it comes out.
Or maybe he will just to spite him.
and let's not forget, it is the Christopher Nolan formula that works so well. Christopher Nolan did a Batman film, then what did he do? Do another Batman film right away? No, he went off and did, I don't know which order.
Prestige.
He did Prestige, and he did another Batman film. Then he did a separate film. Then he did his 3rd Batman film. So he kept changing it up. He kept himself fresh. It was the right way, and I like hearing that George Miller's thinking that way too. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show now for Buy or Sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Sinead's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. Then those at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Sinead, what do we got?
As many of you know, one of the major films in Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the 3rd Thor film, Thor Ragnarok. Little is known about the new film, but we may be one step closer to having a director. According to a report in The Wrap, Taika Waititi, director of Flight of the Conchords and What We Do in the Shadows, is in talks to direct the new Thor film. The report claims that Waititi beat out 3 other contenders for the job in Ruben Fleischer, director of Zombieland and Gangster Squad, Rawson Marshall Thurber, director of Dodgeball and We're the Millers, and Rob Letterman, the director of the upcoming Goosebumps movie. John, would you buy or sell Taika Waititi as the director for Thor Ragnarok?
Look, my first instinct is to sell it. I mean, like, all due respect to people who are fans of Flight of the Conchords and What We Do in the Shadows, Flight of the Conchords is not exactly, narrative masterclassing. I mean, it was funny, it was charming, you had some really neat characters. What We Do in the Shadows is really funny, but to see that guy, the guy who directs that, take that on, I would much rather see Rawson Marshall Thurber. I love Dodgeball, We're the Millers. He did such a great job with that. It seems lately that Kevin Feige is really focusing on comedy directors that he wants. So my first instinct is to sell it, but I can't. Because my first instinct was also to sell the Russo brothers at first. My first instinct was to sell Peyton Reed at first, who directed Ant-Man. And it worked. I know a lot of people, I was one of the few people I really like James Gunn. A lot of people were like, James Gunn to direct Guardians of the Galaxy? That worked. First instincts be damned. Kevin Feige clearly knows what he's doing, and until he swings and misses on a couple of them, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So on that basis alone, I'm going to buy it. What about you, Jason?
I'm going to sell it because what I think Marvel movies need are a distinct visual flavor. And I don't think that Taika has that distinct visual flavor. I also think that Thor is a complete misfit for him because Thor is the lumbering Asgardian god. He's not a quippy god. He's not really if they were saying this is our choice for Iron Man 4, I'd be like, okay, I can sort of get it because he'll be able to shoot out all these lines. Or if this is our choice for Heroes for Hire, I could totally get it. But Thor, which Ragnarok, if you go off the comic book storyline, is going to be completely in the other 9 realms. It's going to be so cosmic-y, it's going to hurt our brains. And I'm just like, this seems like such a weird choice for this. But you made a fine point. Maybe they're like, well, James Gunn made all the cosmic-y stuff of Guardians of the Galaxy acceptable. Maybe this is our guy to make all the cosmic-y stuff of Asgard acceptable.
Yeah, I'm going to tentatively buy it simply because of Marvel and their track record. Like you said, John, I mean, just what they've done in the MCU as far as taking comedy directors and making them have good movies in this world. Plus, I mean, look at the other contenders. All of those guys come from a comedic background. So it's like, if we don't take this guy, we're taking this guy, but he still knows comedy. Thor does have comedic elements, though.
True.
The first one, I thought the comedy worked a little bit better than A Dark World, but I like the comedy in both of them. So you're going to want that in Ragnarok. But going off that Ragnarok storyline, it gets cosmic-y, it also gets dark. And I'm just curious more than anything else, but you got to figure if Feige and Marvel want this guy, he's got to be able to bring something to the table. Whereas with the Flash director, it's a bit of a leap to take somebody who's written stuff and has never directed a film before. Here, I think it's more of a logical leap, so I can buy it.
I'm not going to lie. There was a part of me that really, I was expecting them to announce Kenneth Branagh coming back. because what he did with the first Thor film, for a long time, that first Thor film was my favorite Marvel film. And I was really looking forward. I thought for sure they were going to bring him back. So part of me is just maybe just a little bit bitter.
I'm with you. I'm with you. If they would announce that, I'd buy a ticket right now.
I'd be jumping out of my
this
seat.
minute.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
As most of you know, Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard are currently working on the long-awaited Assassin's Creed movie, and it appears they've just landed a couple more cast members. According to a report from Deadline, veteran actors Jeremy Irons and Brendan Gleeson have joined the cast of the film. The report claims that Irons will be portraying Cotillard's father, while Gleeson will play Fassbender's father. Assassin's Creed is currently set for a release on December 21st, 2016. Mark, buy or sell the addition of Jeremy Irons and Brendan Gleeson to the cast?
What am I going to do? Sell Irons and Gleeson? Come on, man. This is a huge buy for me. We need strong fathers in this world. The best part of Man of Steel to me was the two father roles. I think this is going to be another situation with Assassin's Creed. I will say, as a short disclaimer, that Jeremy Irons is a huge 0 for 1 in gaming-style movies. Dungeons & Dragons wasn't based on a video game, so I can go with this. This is a huge, huge buy for me. I'm even more excited about this project. And plus, we've been talking on the show for months how, okay, this looks like this movie's actually happening now. There's little bits and pieces. We are actually going to get an Assassin's Creed. This kind of solidifies it for us, right?
I think, Jason?
I mean, I agree with you. It's solid. And also, by the way, Jeremy Irons is also playing a father figure in this movie right here.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Brendan Gleeson, Jeremy Irons, add them to a movie. It's always awesome. You can't buy.
Oh, it's by obviously. Okay, first of all, Jeremy Irons is just Jeremy Irons. I still, man, this is how good I think Jeremy Irons is. I'll still say Hans Gruber is the best villain in the Die Hard series, but Irons as his little brother in Die Hard 3.
Ooh, it's good.
Damn, good Lord! I mean he's so good in everything. But the name that really jumped out to me here is Gleeson. Gleeson is one of these guys that 20, 30 years from now when we lose Gleeson, I think then people will just suddenly stand up and realize, I think he's not a household name. And damn it, he should be. Whenever he appears in, and like, it feels like any director in Hollywood, like, okay, we need an actor in this role. It's a small role, but damn, you got to crush it. Okay, go get Gleeson. Because whether it's In Bruges or whether it's Edge of Tomorrow, or whether
go all the way back to Braveheart.
That's the first movie I ever really saw him in. It was Braveheart. Yeah. And even when he played, what was that awful? Was it not Kingdom of Heaven? No, Troy.
Yes.
That awful movie, Troy.
Yeah.
Him in Troy, like he can play this frail old man in some movie and then do another movie where he's this huge, intimidating warrior and you like crap yourself thinking about it. This guy's insanely great. I would say is huge buy for me. All right, what's next?
Deadpool is hitting theaters on February 12th, and we just got our first hint as to what to expect it to sound like. Composer Tom Holkenborg has taken to his Twitter account to announce that he will be scoring the Merc with a Mouth movie. Most recently, Holkenborg worked on the score for Mad Max Fury Road, as well as co-compositions with Hans Zimmer on The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Man of Steel, and The Dark Knight Rises. Jason, buy or sell Tom Holkenborg, Tom Holkenborg scoring Deadpool.
Just call him Junkie XL.
Yeah. Junkie XL, I think this is a total buy. And also, they also announced that in Batman, Superman. Sorry, I don't know why this keeps coming up. I wore the shirt, so this is like bringing it up. He's doing all the Batman themes, while Hans Zimmer is doing all the Superman themes, because Hans Zimmer was like, there's no way I can ever beat my Dark Knight score. Junkie XL, you do Batman, so I don't have to worry about it. This is a great choice. I mean, I think he'll bring, he's proved that he's a solid composer. Deadpool needs energy. It needs a good style. I think a lot of that's going to be brought by the music. And actually, I'm really glad about this because I was worried that every comic book movie coming past Guardians of the Galaxy was just going to go crazy with the 70s soundtrack. And Deadpool could have been a candidate for going crazy with the 90s soundtrack and could have just drove us crazy. So I'm glad that it's total buy because maybe we're going to get some actual score.
I'm going to sell this. And the reason I'm going to sell it is the exact same reason you were selling Graham's, I think, not Graham's, Akiva Goldman. He says, okay, he can do all this great stuff, but as long as you're associated with that Batman and Robin, I just can't get my head around it. You can have done all this great music as long as you're associated with the music in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was one of the worst.
Yep.
It's like, holy crap, this is so bad. Look, all credit where credit's due. He's done some great stuff too. And it's actually probably going to be great, especially when you look, he did a really good job atmospherically, if you want to say that, with Mad Max Fury Road, like almost to perfection with that. So in all, I really should be buying this, but I'm still so mad about that soundtrack in Amazing Spider-Man 2. I just out of spite, I'm going to give it a sell.
That gave me pause as well. I'm going to buy it because I think that was a co-composition, wasn't it, with the Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Yes, it
so
was.
he might have not had all the creative control in the world doing a movie like that. Mad Max Fury Road is why I'm buying this. I mean, you want somebody that can add to the movie without overpowering it. I think his score. I want to see some En Vogue and some salt and pepper in there too,
you do?
Jason.
Okay,
But
all right.
yeah, this is a buy for me. But he goes by the name. What is the Junkie XL?
Junkie XL.
That's like another name. That was my nickname in high school. So
It's a superhero name.
okay, what's Junkie XL? Deadpool on board.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show now for mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Send on in your questions. Maybe you'll see it on Movie Talk. Maybe you'll see it on mailbag sometime. For now, let's see what we got. So, Sinead, what's in the mailbag?
Chris writes, so it's 45 minutes before my movie starts, and I am sending you this email from what is no doubt the tiniest auditorium that this theater complex has. Why am I in the tiniest auditorium, you ask? Because I didn't want to see The Martian in 3D. And when you don't want to see something in 3D nowadays, most theater chains shove the standard showings into the smallest auditoriums they have, and usually only show them twice a day. So my question is, are they strong-arming us into seeing 3D by providing more times in that format and less times in standard, or are people actually still clamoring for 3D that much that they are just giving the public what they want? As always, thanks for everything.
Really interesting question. To be fair, like a lot of times the big 3D theater in a complex will be the biggest theater they have in that complex. So then if you already got one movie taking up the biggest screen, do you also want it to take up the next biggest screen or the third biggest screen? So I can understand why if you're going to have the biggest, also put it in one of the smallest. I'll forgive it a little bit of that. I believe there is a little bit of strong arming there. They want you to go and see this movie in the theater that will make you pay the most money for tickets. So I think there's a little bit of that there. However, that being said, I think we are nearing the joyous end of this 3D garbage. I think we are getting close to the end of this totally nonsense, totally useless 3D trend. In 2010, I was reading an article in the New York Post. In 2010, they said 57% of moviegoers in America saw at least one movie that year in 3D. 2014, that number dropped to 27%. It's a number dropping. And also, go back a couple of years, go back 2012, 2013, the technology industry was like, the next big thing is 3D televisions. Every time you want to go buy a TV, it's almost like you didn't have any other choice but to buy a 3D TV, and yet nobody bought it anyway. Now, pretty much, I don't even know if there's a maker that makes 3D televisions anymore. Nobody wanted them. Now, that being said, I think in 2013, 2014, there was also a record number of films that came out in 3D. But I think the more and more the audience, and that's how we communicate with Hollywood studios, is what we buy our tickets to. I think the Hollywood studios are saying, you know what? It's not a valuable expense to turn these things 3D. The audience clearly doesn't want it. And I am hoping we are nearing the end. You know, the one time I was really impressed with 3D was, Jaws 3. In 3D, but that was because it was like, look at the fish head is right over the guy in front of me. That was also the first 3D movie I ever saw, but was Avatar. And I thought, I saw Avatar, I'm like, maybe I need to rethink my position on this. But then I saw it again, because I enjoyed the movie a lot, saw it again in a non-3D screening, and I wasn't any less impressed without the 3D. Look, and everybody has different opinions. You may love 3D, that's great, and that's awesome. But I think the numbers are pointing that more and more audiences are opting to go with the non-3D standard screening. And hopefully within the next year, we're going to see that trend you're talking about changing. I cannot wait for 3D to die myself personally. Anyway, Jason, what about you?
Oh, preach it, brother. Hallelujah. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, if think about it, like, I want to just ask a question to the panel. If we're going to see, like, say, The Martian, 8 p.m., same price, same time, one's 3D, one's not, what one do you go see?
Non-3D. I've seen them both. I've seen
I
it
never
3D.
go
I've
see
seen
the
it not.
3D one.
Yeah.
Mark?
It all depends on what kind of glasses the theater uses. If you just have like the tiny ones that just feel like normal glasses, I'm fine with 3D. I have no problem with it. Sometimes I actually enjoy it, and it does enhance the experience a little bit. But when you have that huge like dental headgear,
You mean like the ones in the picture back here?
Yeah, I mean those are ridiculous, and I will actually just not see the movie at all. as opposed to putting those on. I will say, one of the complaints that I heard my friends say about The Martian is that they didn't think it was necessary in 3D. There was one scene in there, and I won't give anything away, but something comes flying at you, and I actually went like that.
It was the Millennium Falcon.
It was
by the way.
Nice.
It was Chewie. We're home. But I thought it did add somewhat to the atmosphere. The best use of 3D of all time, though, beating out Avatar for me, is Harold and Kumar's Christmas movie. Just kept blowing smoke at you, and I'm telling you, man, don't sell it. I completely agree with you on the 3D TVs things. I tried that one time at home, and it was just ridiculously awful. I don't think it's going anywhere in movies, though.
My last enjoyable 3D experience actually was Hugo, Martin Scorsese's film.
That was a great use.
That was great in 3D, and then I saw it at home without 3D, and I thought it didn't stand up to seeing it in 3D, and so I've never seen it again.
On the 3D, your 3D screen is also on a giant movie screen.
Oh,
versus
totally.
Watching it at home.
Totally.
But I always remember, it would always drive me nuts when I think, you know what? Some professional, great artistic cinematographer spent a lot of time composing these shots, giving us these rich, vivid colors and images. And what's the first thing we're going to do when we walk into the studio? Put tinted film over our eyes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's genius. Sinead, I'm curious to know, if you have a choice, you walk in the theater tonight because you're going to go see The Martian, and like Jason was asking, you have a choice to go, it's same price, let's just say it's the same price. You have a choice to go see it in 3D or non-3D. I'm curious, which do you choose?
I always would choose non-3D. I hate 3D movies. I actually hate
Nice.
It makes me nauseous. And what did I see in 3D just recently that I literally was sick for like 4 hours? Terminator. Genesis.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That might not have been the 3D that was causing her.
That literally was awful, like the worst. I even saw Mad Max in 3D, and I remember telling Dennis, like, Dennis, I get really sick when I see 3D movies. Where should I sit? And so he like helped me pick out my seats in the theater, and I still got like queasy. I don't like it. It just I don't know what the big deal is. I don't think it's a big deal.
Can't believe you guys are leaving me out on an island here. That's why we didn't work out, Sinead.
All right. That's the reason? All right. Last question of the day.
Dan writes, that is not the reason. I was talking with my friends,
Micro
and I think
penis.
movie theater.
What's this? Canadians are supposed to be friendly and giving people. My God.
That's why he likes 3D. I'll just say it.
Inman from way downtown. Bang. No, put on the glasses, honey. Oh, we have fun on this show.
Yep.
I think Sinead's done.
Oh my God, that's so sad. Seriously,
Things you don't want to hear a girl say.
it's so sad. Okay. All right, Dan. I'm sorry, Dan. Dan writes, I was talking with my friends, and I think movie theaters should have a service for $4 to $5 to watch your kid as you watch your movie. I believe this will make more people go to the theaters. They can save money on babysitters and have a more enjoyable experience at the movies for everybody. What are your thoughts?
I have two trains of thought on this. On one hand, it's a great idea. It really is. Because one of the big problems, we were talking the other day, is like, should parents bring their kids into the movie theaters? And, you know, some really hate it, some don't mind it, but whatever. But it's definitely an issue. And then some people think, I can't go because I can't pay a babysitter and, you know, go. The idea of then daycare, you know, at my gym today, you go in there, there's a daycare there. It's a terrific idea in theory. The practical application of it, though, could be a different matter. Number one, you need real estate space in your theater, that they pretty much try to use every square inch of a movie theater that they can. But that's one of the smallest problems. You need space for it. Number two, you have to get, you know, child care professionals in there. I don't think $4 to $5 is going to cut it. So there's that as well. But again, one of the smaller things. Here's one of the biggest reasons I think a movie theater would really shy away from doing it. And once again, I think the idea is great if we can figure out a way to work this out. But one of the biggest reasons a movie theater would not want to do this is one big, giant, scary word: liability. This is a litigious culture we live in that loves to sue over anything. So some mom comes back and hears her little Johnny say, that little kid punched me. Well, that mom's now suing the movie theater chain because they didn't protect her kid and stuff like or the kid was already sick and then gets sick and gets another kid there sick. And now that parent is now suing whatever. It just seems like there would be an awful lot of risk, liability that could really hurt a movie theater chain. But I think the idea in principle is brilliant if a way could be figured out to actually make it happen. I love the notion. Jason, what do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I think you just explained every single reason why movie theaters probably won't do it. But I think you also explained a plan for any entrepreneurs out there that want to open a daycare right next to a movie theater and figure out the price that you'd be willing to watch that kid for 2 hours. I think that I'm giving you gold.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I know Sinead and I are looking for a place to give our kids when we go see movies. All 9 of them. I think this is a good idea in theory, but the problem is the daycare professional aspect of it, because I used to work at a movie theater. You don't want me watching your kids. You know, God love movie theater ushers and concessions people and all that stuff, but I don't want them watching kids. I mean, I think that it'd be so cool if you were a parent to have your kid on site as opposed to leaving them with a babysitter at home and you have to check in, and having your kid actually physically there somewhere on the same premises is a great notion. I think a theater should try it. I think if you roll the dice with it, there's also sometimes they have like special screenings, I know, that are like Mommy and Me screenings or whatever they're called on like Tuesday morning, where it's you're walking into a screening that is full of kids, so maybe have specific ones where the parents can watch the kids, and then you're not going to have idiots like me yell at them for bringing your kid. Like that was the whole point. You
specifically buy the ticket to those screenings?
Oh yeah, I heckle the crap out of people. Yeah. But I think it could be a good idea. Somebody should try it.
I think if I was like working in a theater and the bosses asked me to watch the kids, I don't know, I get them an apple juice laced with Vicodin. Here you go, little Bobby.
Just put them inside the popcorn machine and just let them go.
Let them go. It's like a ball land when you go in there.
Yep.
Right? Just kick around. See
Don't mind the hot oil.
All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of Collider Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing over at our friends at AMC Theatres right now. Head on over to www.amctheatres.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. Love entertainment news? Want to be kept up to date on everything that's going on? Make sure you bookmark Collider.com. Steve Frosty Weintraub and his crack team of writers over there doing an excellent job of keeping you up to date by the minute on everything going on in the worlds of film and television. Once again, bookmark Collider.com. I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting to my left, our special guest today, host of DC All Access, host of our very own Collider Arrow Recap Show, Mr. Jason Inman. Jason, where can people find you online?
At Jawin, Jawiin. And it's the first 2 letters of all 3 of my names. Everybody asked me that. There you go.
Oh my goodness. So I'm sitting over here on my right. Still getting over his breakup with Sinead, apparently. I don't know. Mark Ellis. Mark, where can people find you online?
It was rough. You can tweet me and Instagram me pictures of me and Sinead at once, a happy couple, at 5150 Ellis. On iTunes, you get my stand-up album called Get to the Castle. While you're on iTunes, do yourself a favor.
And sitting over there way at the end, Miss Sinead DeFries. Sinead, where can people find you online?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Sinead DeFries and at that'ssosinead.com.
And of course, you can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram, just at John Campea. And a quick note, some of you will know that for the last month or so, I've been kind of plugging and mentioning to you my Kickstarter campaign for my new novel, The Pride, which comes out in December. It's all done. We almost doubled what we needed. Thanks, you guys. You guys raised $21,000 for the book, which is surprisingly how fast that goes. But thank you so much for that. Keep your eye open for my book, The Pride, coming out in December. Will be available on Amazon and other places as well. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is John Campea for Collider Video. And until next time, bye-bye.